Now at 5, a big step forward. One of Pittsburgh's oldest manufacturers celebrates its largest expansion in 30 years. Plus, higher prices and extreme weather. Why this season at a Joplin Farmers Market looks different than years past. And
I'm Jennifer Merrily in Minneapolis. The chilling new details we're learning about the man charged in the attack on Minnesota lawmakers.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
A major milestone for one of Pittsburgh's long-standing manufacturers. Pitt Plastic celebrates its largest expansion in 3 decades. This is KOAM News at 5. I'm Dow Quick. A ribbon-cutting ceremony today marked the expansion that adds more than 200,000 square feet to the company's total footprint in Pittsburgh. They say the expansion will allow them to grow their customer base and support future revenue, both for the company and the community. The event gave local officials and the chamber a chance to tour the space, which was completed earlier this year and is now fully operational.
It's very important to keep investing back into our existing business. We've been here since 1972. Our original owner, was Gene Bicknell, a very strong proponent of the Crawford County and Pittsburgh area, and we just want to continue his legacy.
With the new space now in use, the team at Plastic says they're focused on the future, investing in infrastructure, workforce growth, and customer service. Some Southeast Kansas business leaders this evening will meet with elected representatives at the federal, state, and local levels. A meet and greet with Southeast Kansas legislators will begin within the hour in Humboldt, Kansas. U.S. Congressman Derek Schmidt is joining a number of other legislators representing Southeast Kansas. A regional alliance of business leaders, Southeast Kansas Inc., is hosting the event at Monarch Cement Company and had sold tickets to both members and non-members. The event includes a social hour, a dinner, and a question and answer session. KOAM Samantha Walker is there and plans to ask several questions related to bills and your budget. We're going to have more for you tonight at 10. Between weather and inflation, foot traffic looks a bit different at local farmers markets. K&D Cattle is a farmers market in Newton County. The owner, Dan Thornburg, grows his own produce, buys from other local producers, and buys out of state for food that is out of season locally. He says due to higher costs of farming essentials and out of season costs, he had to raise prices. This is typically their peak season, but Thornburg says business is down.
Yeah, overall we're down, and I'm not the only one. You know, I've got other friends that are in the business as well, from Bentonville, Arkansas area, clear, north of Lamar and everything. Overall, that's the general census, is that sales are down right now.
KOAM contacted some other Joplin area markets. We were told although not all sales are suffering, the weather is putting an added burden on their produce. Let's check in now with meteorologist Lindsay Gaffney for a first look at the weather.
Well, we were almost out of severe weather season, but we've got one more chance to see some strong storms in the area starting tomorrow evening and into Wednesday morning. Now you can see we've got temperatures currently in the mid 80s out in the Joplin area, and clouds are clearing out as well. Now you can see most of those clouds. We had a pretty cloudy day, also a muggy day. That's going to continue for Tuesday morning as well. It's going to start off pretty hot, pretty humid, and temperatures reaching the upper 80s. It's going to provide a lot of instability in the area, so strong storms are expected late Tuesday night, after midnight, and into early Wednesday morning. So we are expecting that to become a severe alert day. Now, could see a couple showers through the morning hours on Tuesday, spiking early afternoon. But again, our severe threat is holding off until late Tuesday night and into early Wednesday morning before it drops off. But I'm going to have all those details coming up.
See you soon. As chilling new details emerge, the man suspected of posing as a police officer while gunning down a Minnesota lawmaker and wounding another is facing state and federal charges. 57-year-old Vance Bolter was arrested yesterday near his Minneapolis area home. Jennifer Mayerly reports from Minneapolis.
Prosecutors say a Minnesota man who allegedly shot and killed State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband at their suburban Minneapolis home on Saturday also targeted the homes of other lawmakers during his overnight rampage. On Monday, Vance Belter made an initial court appearance, facing an array of charges, including federal murder, attempted murder, and stalking offenses. After a nearly 2-day manhunt, Belter surrendered to officers, who found him in the woods near his home late Sunday. Authorities say Belter, disguised as a police officer, drove up to State Senator John Hoffman's house, where he shot and wounded Hoffman and his wife.
Belter wore a black tactical vest and body armor. He carried a flashlight and a Beretta 9mm handgun. He also wore a hyper-realistic silicone mask.
Acting U.S. Attorney Joseph Thompson says security camera footage shows Belter knocking on the door and repeatedly shouting, "This is the police, open the door." When Hoffman realized Belter was not an officer, Thompson says the suspect announced it was a robbery.
When Senator Hoffman attempted to push Belter out and stop him from entering his home, Belter shot him repeatedly. Belter then shot Miss Hoffman.
Prosecutors say Belter went to the homes of 2 more lawmakers on the night of the shootings. One was away on vacation, and the suspect left the other house after police approached him, believing he was an officer dispatched to the scene.
It is a frightening time we are living in. Political violence is prevalent, and the way we talk to and about each other has raised the temperature to unfathomable levels.
Authorities say they recovered 5 additional firearms from the suspect's vehicle and a notebook with more than 45 lawmakers' names. Jennifer Merrily, CBS News, Minneapolis.
Minnesota State Senator John Hoffman and his wife, who were targeted first, survived the shooting and remain in the hospital. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he's spoken with President Trump and says the U.S. president fully supports Israel's attacks on Iran. This comes as President Trump is meeting with world leaders at the G7 Economic Summit in Canada to talk about Iran and trade. The President met with the Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney as the two sides haggle over a new trade deal. Trump declared himself a trade person. Still ahead, the summer scaries.
When school's out for summer, it can be a big change for students and parents. I'm Bradley Blackburn with new data on parents' top concerns, especially for kids' mental health.
And the American Academy of Pediatrics is revising how doctors talk to teens about birth control. That story coming up in Health Watch.
Dust, pollen, and other
Topping today's Health Watch, the American Academy of Pediatrics has updated its guidelines on how pediatricians should talk about contraception with their teen patients. The new report covers several types of contraceptives, from long-lasting IUDs to the morning after pill. The AAP says pediatricians can be a trusted resource because of their typical long-standing relationships with families. Women who work at night are more likely to have asthma than women who only work during the daytime. UK researchers analyzed nearly 275,000 workers and found women who work night shifts were about 50% more likely to suffer from moderate or severe asthma. They did not find this link for men who work at night. School's out, but a new study confirms that the summer months are already stressing out many parents with concerns their kids won't get what they need for their mental health. Bradley Blackburn has more on the results and what doctors recommend.
Preschooler Abraham will be headed to kindergarten in September, but right now his mom, Jessica Monroe Garcia, is focused on serving up a memorable summer.
I just want him to have fun. He's still a kid before we have to go back into school in the fall.
For many parents, summer break sparks real fears, or what Dr. Ariana Howitt calls the summer scaries.
That feeling that parents are getting right as kids are starting to get ready for the summer break and thinking, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with my kids?
Howitt is Executive Clinical Director for the Kids Mental Health Foundation, which found in a new survey that top summer concerns include overdoing it on screen time, boredom or lack of structured activities, and disrupted routines or sleep schedules. But every family is different.
We have the parents that are worried that my child's not doing enough and they're just sitting at home. And then we have the parents that are like, oh, maybe I schedule too many activities.
I would be overwhelmed if I had a packed summer like that. It's so nice when they can just be outside and just be kind of relaxed about things.
Doctors say when school is out, structure is still important. Routines and schedules can support mental health even when they're not strict.
Helps us know what to expect. So have them wake up and go to bed at the same time every day. Have them eat their meals around the same time every day. And then schedule the connecting times. Time with family, time with friends. Schedule time for hobbies and things that brings them joy.
Finding room for fun in the summer sun and a reminder to relax for both kids and their parents. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
Doctors also say parents don't necessarily need to set strict limits for screen time. What's more important is to remember the big picture and the kids have a healthy balance with time outdoors and with friends. And that is a look at today's health news. A little bit later, Little Caesars is serving up a superhero-sized deal just in time for Marvel fans. Find out how you can score pizza perks and a discounted movie night.
And we have another round of potential severe weather coming tomorrow. I'll have those details coming up. Well, we started today off pretty muggy. It was really hot, really humid. That's how we start tomorrow off as well. But then we have storms coming in. It could be strong, but you can see currently looking pretty good out there. Taking a look outside of Indigo Sky Casino and Resort out in Seneca, Missouri. We do still have a few of those fluffy clouds out there and sunny skies. It is going to be a pretty nice evening. Temperatures only dropping down to the upper 60s, low 70s, so pretty mild, but humidity creeps back in as we get into Tuesday morning. We're also watching, we've got a nice little high pressure system set up there in the southwest, but what we're watching for is a low pressure system. It's a weak low, but it does push into the area, bringing some strong storms. So we are now currently under a level 3 out of 5 risk. That's our elevated risk for severe weather, mainly just for southeastern Kansas, and that's due to the strong winds that we could be seeing coming in. Now, we have 2 different storm systems that are making their way through the area. 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. could see a strong isolated storm in there, but that's not really where our severe threat lies. Mainly the storm system coming in after midnight on Tuesday and into Wednesday. That's where we're going to see our severe threat. And again, the main risk is going to be those high winds, strong damaging wind gusts, but with that bow echo, we could see a slight tornado risk, very conditional, large hail, and of course, flooding. We've seen so much rainfall, so any additional rain leads to flooding risks. So taking a look at our breakdown of all those storms, again, you can see where our hatch zone is, southeastern Kansas, for that wind threat, significant wind threat. Hail could, again, slight risk there for southeastern Kansas all the way up to Nevada, Butler, Fort Scott, Mound City area. And then isolated to maybe a couple extra tornadoes there for very conditional threat along that bow echo, which we're going to look at here in a minute. But first, I want to show that first round of storms coming in. So again, tonight, clear skies. Temperatures are dropping down through the low 70s into the upper 60s. Back up to the 70s by about 8. And again, super humid. It's going to be very humid, very hot, just gross outside in the morning. That actually adds that instability to the area. Now, by 8:30, you can see where some showers, thunderstorms start to develop outside of our area. They push in, and like I said, they fall apart right when they move in. Yates Center getting some heavy rain all the way down to Chanute. This is now 11 a.m. This one strong portion of this could be maybe a slight severe risk, but it continues to push in, falls apart. Then we move on to later in the evening. Now temperatures are reaching the upper 80s. We've got some scattered shower chances, could hinder a little bit of that severe weather development. But as we get after midnight, that's where our bow echo is. And you can see how it's into southeastern Kansas, really just strong damaging wind gusts as it makes its way in, some hail threat, and again, spin up tornado threats. Those will continue to push out of the area. And then we're not quite out of the woods yet, because right after all this storms moves out, we're back into a heat risk potential, moderate risk for heat on Friday, but getting into that high risk, that major risk for heat on Saturday with high temperatures in the 90s and heat indices in the hundreds. So we go from a severe threat Tuesday night into Wednesday, which you can see as an alert day, to just incredibly hot, humid temperatures all through the rest of the week and into the weekend. So it's not going to be a very fun week for most of us.
Hot, humid, nobody really likes either of those.
No.
Thanks, Lindsay. Coming up, a growing number of millennials are facing a mountain of credit card debt, but many are now taking action to dig themselves out.
You know, they put famous since 1923.
Topping today's Consumer Watch, Little Caesars is taking a bite out of the silver screen today, launching what they call a Fantastic 4-in-1 pizza to mark next month's theatrical release of the Fantastic Four First Steps. The deal gives customers 2 slices each of 4 flavors: classic cheese, pepperoni, Italian sausage, and bacon, pepperoni, jalapeno, in collectible boxes. Cost $7.99. Little Caesars is also partnering with Fandango to give customers $4 off a movie ticket to see the film with a purchase of $20 or more. A big weekend for live-action remakes at the box office. How does Train Your Dragon soar to the top spot in its debut, hauling in more than $83 million. Disney's Lilo and Stitch was second with more than $15 million. Romantic comedy Materialists opened third with $12 million. More millennials are falling into debt. That's according to one of the nation's leading nonprofit credit counseling agencies. But the data also shows they are more likely to do something other generations typically are not. Josh Sidorowicz has that story.
33-year-old Nick March turned to credit cards as a lifeline.
At the time, we weren't really making a lot of money to make ends meet, get groceries, that type of thing. We were going to school.
But what started as necessity, he says, quickly snowballed as he racked up $28,000 in debt.
Definitely a daunting number. Since we didn't really have experience with credit cards before, we just kind of let that get a little bit more out of control, doing a little bit of unnecessary spending. And then it got to a point where we couldn't really pay the interest on it.
Faced with rising rent, ballooning interest rates, and stuck with student loans, millennials, the generation born between 1981 and 1995, are now the ones most asking for help to dig out of credit card debt.
43%, the largest group of all new clients coming in, are millennials.
Serving clients nationwide, nonprofit credit counseling agency Money Management International said it's a significant trend away from what had been their typical clients in their 40s and 50s.
I will say the positive thing about millennials is they are willing to take action. They actually turn out to be the most receptive to financial counseling, making them most likely to overcome their financial challenges.
March says MMI worked with his creditors to negotiate lower interest rates into the single digits, setting him up on a plan to pay off his debt within 3 years.
Having that sort of like end date of when all of this will be paid off is kind of like the, okay, now we can look at getting a house. Now we can, be free of all of this, and it will feel like a huge weight is lifted off our shoulders.
Josh Sidorowicz, CBS News, Philadelphia.
A final check of the forecast up next. Up next on the CBS Evening News, we go to Detroit, where police are solving decades-old crimes with a new approach. Then on KOAM News at 6, authorities investigate a crash on Interstate 44 that killed 4 people. Plus, we're going to hear more from the operator of a Joplin farmers market on how inflation is impacting prices. And women's flag football is coming to Missouri Southern. Stay with us for the CBS Evening News and then KOAM News at 6. Some incoming 7th and 8th grade students in Joplin are getting an inside look at healthcare careers at the Freeman Healthcare Careers Camp. It includes ambulance and air ambulance tours, introduction to CPR, OR tours, and more.
There's like a radiation room. That's like the most that we've been to so far, and then this hands-on activity.
We can use anything in nature to wrap like a wound or a broken leg or a broken arm or a broken ankle.
The camp continues at Freeman Properties and at North Middle School through Friday. We could use a break from the rain. The ground out there is saturated.
I could use a break from severe weather. I'm tired of it, but we do have an alert day tomorrow. We got some strong storms in the morning, but a severe threat after midnight Tuesday night and into Wednesday. Mainly just a wind threat, but we could get spin-up tornadoes along that threat, mainly in southeastern Kansas. After that, it's going to be hot, very hot.
We need hot, I guess. We prefer not hot and muggy.
At least dry. That's what we need.
Yeah, at the very least. Thanks for joining us. CBS Evening News is next. We'll see you at 6. Let's make it a great evening.